And these four guys have made the semifinals of the U.S. Open. One of them has won a major already this year. Three of them are in the best runs of their careers so far, essentially. And it's going to be interesting to see how Jannik Sinner can fend versus the three, I would say, underdogs at this stage. But the American hope is alive. The U.S. Open, as it's called, is fully alive as Jessica Pegula takes out Iga Swiatek. And we're going to talk about how weird the Sinner versus Medvedev match was here in the quarterfinals, as it was one of the stranger ones I've seen as an analyst between two top guys. So let's get into it. Let's break down the semifinal matchups, how we got here, looking forward, and that's what we do on The Slice. So thanks for being here. The Slice is presented by Betway. Let's get rolling. Okay, welcome back to The Slice, everyone. If you're new here, thanks for subscribing. And thanks to those of you who have gone now and checked out the audio podcast, subscribed on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. JP, not here right now, but he says thank you. Big things to get through here in tennis. We're going to get through the men's and women's semifinal matchups. We're going to talk about the Sinner Medvedev match that we just watched. That was one of the weirder ones. But before that, shout out to Betway. The Slice is presented by Betway, so you know that if you're going to bet responsibly, you need to use Betway. If you're not going to bet responsibly, don't do it at all. Betway has been a great platform to use for me. I love how it's easy to sign into. The odds come up really nicely. The app works great. So yeah, huge shout out to them for helping put on the show, and huge shout out to you for being here. I'm tired. The U.S. Open is in. I really shouldn't be. I don't really know why I am. I think it's like the late night recordings, kind of late night, but on the west coast of North America where I live, it's like the easiest time ever for any tennis fan, I would say. So I really shouldn't be complaining, and I'm not. So there's that. But who should be complaining is Daniil Medvedev, because he lost to Jannik Sinner today in a match that he would love a do-over of, I think. He goes in there and outside of one set and a little bit, throws an absolute stinker. And to be fair, Jannik Sinner also didn't play his top level of tennis either. And it was a really interesting match to watch. Two of the best players. Really, a lot of people have called this quarterfinal like the de facto final, which I think is disrespectful. But the way that they played maybe shows that it wasn't, because they did not live up to the epic that we thought we might have. I put in the title or the thumbnail of a video a few shows ago. Potential epic incoming. It was not an epic. It was a weird one. Like I said, it was up and down, and it was 6-2 for Sinner, 6-1 for Medvedev, 6-1 for Sinner, 6-4. Now the fourth set that had some potential there to get really good, but it didn't happen. The level got better. I would say both of them got to a closer, higher level, but Sinner more clutch from the ground. Daniil Medvedev's ground game kind of broke down all night long. Both of them had weird serving nights. We'll look at the stats, but I think from the ground, Sinner was more solid. When Medvedev was winning the second set and playing better, it's when he was it seemed to me to be softballing Medvedev or Sinner up the middle of the court, taking away angles and kind of taking away ability for Sinner to attack. When Medvedev tried to be too aggressive, he seemed to miss for me. When he tried to redirect the ball down the line with his backhand, he was going long a lot, both sides. And these balls fly. We thought Medvedev had a better hold on it as the tournament went along, but it's a different ball coming at you from Sinner. No one hits it as big as he does off the ground. And Sinner handled the conditions better and played a better match from the ground. So let's go set by set through this one after we look at the total. So the match summary, 5 aces only for Medvedev, 4 for Sinner, 56% first serves in for Medvedev, super low, 53 first serve percentage in for Sinner, but he wins. He wins 76% of his first serves compared to 67 for Medvedev, and 61% on his second serve, which is, the return for Medvedev really wasn't there throughout the match. If you look at set one, all these stats are kind of accentuated. Both of them under 50% first serves in. Sinner only drops 1 point on his first serve and literally only drops 6 points on his serve the whole set. So Medvedev wasn't locked in. He wasn't playing great tennis, and Sinner wasn't really either. He just was playing that much better. Medvedev had break points, didn't convert on them. Just a weird set. 6 winners, 15 unforced errors for Daniil Medvedev. So really, really flat start for Medvedev. Then he comes out and wins the second set, 6-1. So the stats completely flip, as you can see here on the right side of the screen. Sinner's at 58% first serves in, Medvedev 60. They both get back to closer to normal levels. But then Sinner's not winning his first serve points. Medvedev's at 78% and 50% on a second serve, wins all 8 points at the net, breaks twice, 13 winners, 11 unforced errors. And then Sinner, 4 winners, 12 unforced errors. So just a ton of unforced errors from both guys. Third set, back 6-1 Sinner. All the stats just reverse. Still, neither of them are serving a high percentage. It goes back to Sinner winning 82% of his first serves, all 9 points at the net, breaks twice, 8 winners, catches in the unforced errors. Whereas Daniil, 14 unforced errors, 3 winners. So really weird one so far. And then the fourth set, things started to get a little bit maybe better. Still a ton of unforced errors from Medvedev, 17 on 8 winners. Only won 68% of his first serve there, and that contributes to the match summary of 57 unforced errors on 30 winners. He usually doesn't have a lot of winners, but that's a lot of unforced errors for Daniil Medvedev. And there was some points there in the fourth set that were really crucial that Daniil did not capture. There was one break point that he had that he didn't. He had the volley cross court. It was a hard passing shot, but he kind of flailed at the volley, cut it too far wide. That obviously would have changed the match. He got down a break. Could he have gotten it back? He tried, but few really bad misses there in a row, I believe, when he had the chance to break back in the fourth set, wasn't able to do it. So I don't know how you kind of like summarize that match. Just a weird one. Neither guy really got going. Sinner did for bigger parts of it, as far as getting closer to the level that he'd like to play at. And from the baseline or from the ground, again, Sinner was able to find more of his game and push Daniil around for more of the match. Although it was totally streaky because when Daniil kind of locked in that second set, didn't give Sinner anything, slowed the game down, played through the middle, that seemed to work, and then Sinner was just producing errors. So super weird one. Sinner through to the semifinals, where the other guys there are in not totally new territories. Tiafoe's been in the semifinals 2 years ago at the U.S. Open, but Fritz has never been in the semifinals. Draper's definitely never been in the semifinals. And if you actually think about it, for Jack Draper, I believe this is the first time he's been past the fourth round. Yes, it is. So, but the only other time he's made the fourth round was at the U.S. Open. So this is his best major. But what's the delta of Sinner's experience now compared to the other guys? You look at Sinner versus Medvedev. That matchup it's interesting. Lefty going into righty, and we'll talk about time on court because that matters to me. I wasn't able to talk about it in the last video because I didn't have that chart ready, but Draper has played the least amount of tennis by far out of the 4 semifinalists. He's at 9 hours and 14 minutes, and Sinner's at 11 hours and 17 minutes, so essentially an extra 2 hours on court. Neither of them, that's not a lot in general for the semifinals, so will that play a factor? I really don't think it will. But I do think the experience difference will play a factor. Sinner's been here before. He's made it through the semifinals. He's made it through the finals. He's won a major this year. So does he have way more belief than Jack Draper? Maybe. Does he have more pressure on him? Definitely. So it's interesting. You got these different dynamics. You've got Draper playing in the fresh garb. I was hating on this outfit on Twitter, but I think with the way he's playing and the swag he has as a person, I'm coming around to it, I think. But that's an interesting matchup. So looking at the semifinals now, Sinner Draper, like I said, Draper is the more fresh player. He hasn't dropped a set. He's been playing huge. He's got that knockout punch ability with the serve and the forehand. But I think if Sinner plays comfortably and he's just got too much versatility, especially switching directions and going into the Draper backhand, I do think it's going to be pretty hard for Draper. But if you watch the match today against Alcaraz or Demon Hour, which I wasn't able to, but I was able to see the highlights, the way Jack Draper is moving, sliding in and out of the corners on his forehand and backhand is impressive, and it shows how much improvement he's made in his movement. So he's dangerous for sure. It's definitely Sinner is the favorite. He's the favorite from here on out. But again, when he won the Australian Open, he wasn't the favorite. He had to beat Djokovic. He wasn't the number one seed. He wasn't the number one player in the world. He didn't just have a doping scandal. So he's got a lot going on still. And Draper, I would say, has almost no pressure going on to him as far as general expectations from the world. Obviously, for himself, he'll have tons of expectations and pressure from himself, and that might, get to him. I would call that the moment getting to him because it's his first semifinal. So we will see. But yeah, I'm definitely calling a Sinner victory over Draper, but not like easy. Definitely not easy, and that's to be expected. It's the semifinals. Okay, Fritz Tiafoe. The American boys going at it in the semifinals. It's the USTA's perfect dream. So Taylor Fritz is the higher seeded player. He's had the better last couple of years, and maybe he's got more pressure on himself there. But I think that pressure is marginal. It's going to be a party in there. The Americans, I don't know who they're going to know to cheer for. They're going to be cheering for good tennis. But how did we get there? If we back it up here, to the quarterfinals, Fritz takes out Zverev, who's the number 4 seed, who is looking very dangerous. In a 3.5-hour match, played big clutch tennis in the tiebreaks, wins 2 tiebreaks and a close third set. So Taylor Fritz is battle tested from that Zverev match. Zverev didn't play great, said he didn't do anything to deserve to win that, but Fritz is tough to come through that quarterfinal into the semifinal. Tiafoe gets through Dimitrov, although it was looking sketchy there as Dimitrov essentially injured himself. His hamstring, it looked like, which into his back in the third set after he had come back from 4-1 in the second set. So Tiafoe let him in there a little bit, and from the ball striking from Dimitrov's side, Tiafoe starting to get pushed around a little bit. But I will say that Tiafoe match, for about a half a set or almost a full set there, Dimitrov was putting on some of the best ball striking I've ever seen as a tennis fan. Like, absolutely crazy. And it's a damn shame that he got injured. It's happened so much to him in his that's Medvedev. I thought it was Dimitrov. It's happened so much to him in his career. It's a damn shame. And this guy is one of the absolute legends of the game. I said it on the show. Is this his best chance to ever win a major? It probably was so far with the way he's playing. I do think, if he didn't get injured, he would have turned that match around and probably won it. And then you never know. But physically, he just isn't able to hold up as often as he needs to. So that's tough for Dimitrov. But Tiafoe through to play Fritz, and that one's tough to call. But I'm going to lead towards the higher ranked player, Taylor Fritz. Although he's never been to a semifinal before, I think it's going to feel like he has. He's been kind of deeper in tournaments more lately than Tiafoe. He's been playing at a higher level in the last couple of years, like I said, but it's going to be interesting because Tiafoe is a much better mover than Taylor. Taylor has a bit bigger game, but Tiafoe can hang with the best of them, and he can mix it up better than Taylor. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Francis plays that and tries to draw Fritz away from just bashing on the baseline, which I suspect Francis won't want to do. So I'm leaning to the higher seed. I'm leaning Sinner and Taylor Fritz. And Sinner is really the man to beat here. He's a big favorite now, number 1 player in the world. But I don't know, how is he going to play as the number 1 player in the world as the favorite with guys like Jack Draper, and then either Francis Tiafoe or Taylor Fritz coming at him as the underdogs. How is he going to handle that pressure? He didn't handle the pressure great today. It was better than Medvedev, but that's not saying much. So that's going to be interesting to see. Okay. On the ladies' side, Jessica Pegula makes it through, as we know, and she takes out Iga Swiatek in pretty straightforward fashion, which is, you gotta say, is a bit, even though Swiatek hasn't been winning outside of Roland Garros at the majors, you gotta say that's a little bit shocking. Hour and 28 minutes. I watched it, and all I saw from Swiatek was just errors, errors, errors. Mentally, not in the place she needs to be to win the U.S. Open or beat someone who's playing as good as Jessica Pegula. That's for sure. So tough one for Swiatek. She's out. Pegula, the Pegula party rolls on. She'll play Muhova, who took out Haddad Maia 6-1, 6-4. Caroline Muhova is playing great tennis, unseeded into the semifinals. That's a great story. In the 8 total semifinalists between men's and women's, there's half of them are American. So it feels like if you don't get an American winner, it's a bit of a failure, but it's not going to be easy. Pegula, I expect Pegula to make the final, but Navarro has definitely got her work cut out for her versus Sabalenka, who chopped Qinwen Zheng 6-1, 6-2 in an hour and 13 minutes. So yeah, Sabalenka to me is a favorite there, and as a much bigger player, it's going to be interesting to see if Navarro can counterpunch effectively at all, slow down Sabalenka, or Sabalenka finds some yips. But I expect Sabalenka to get through fairly standardly versus Navarro, but Navarro can be the villain. It's kind of been weird to see on tennis Twitter how she's kind of been a villain a little bit. People don't like her for some reason, it seems. Navarro and Pegula, coming from the super ultra billionaire rich families, Americans. It's the American dream, people. So anyways, that's that. I think that's the semifinal preview. We've got interesting matchups. We've got Sinner versus Draper. We've got Taylor versus Tiafoe. If you think about it, it's Jannik Sinner from Italy, who doesn't host a major, and the Draper from the LTA, Fritz Tiafoe from the USTA. It's the federations versus the Federation. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how these matches go down. As always, we'll be here to break them down for you. We will be here to react to everything. And thanks for subscribing. Thanks for checking out the audio podcast. And make sure to circle in your calendars the U.S. Open final. We'll be there with a live stream. JP Hovey for the podcast will be doing it. Thanks for everything. We will see you guys next time here on the show. Thanks for being